Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. We're glad to have you here. In this webinar, we'll explore the benefits that Talend Solutions can bring to your organization. We'll start off with a brief case study surrounding the specific challenges faced by one of our customers, followed by more in-depth details of Talend's overall capabilities. We have two phenomenal speakers lined up for us today. Joining us from Talend is Searle, the Senior Manager at Alliances and Channels. And on behalf of OSSCube, we have the Executive Vice President, John Bernard. From here, I'm going to pass it on to you, John.
Thank you, Samir. It's great to be here today, and thank you, everybody, for your time. We have been a partner with Talend for many years now, and we've successfully implemented many global projects. The one I want to talk to you about today really has to do with a software publisher that we help integrate each instance into a new ecosystem. This is a visualization tool that's used to deal with financial information, and every time we integrate it into a new client, there's a brand new unique ecosystem. And what we have to do is make sure that all of the data is unified so that the tool can properly render the data. We want to make sure that we can handle the data that's originating from multiple different sources. In fact, many of the sources are outside of the customer's ecosystem. And these clients are located globally, so we have different challenges with languages and data formats and things like that. So that's the real challenge of making this happen. And the solution that we have is the ability to bring together all of this siloed data. I think as many of you know that are on the call, having siloed data sets can present many disadvantages to your business. You don't share knowledge between different groups. You can't maximize the value of the data. And in many cases, because you can't extract actionable information from your data, you actually lose productivity and a competitive advantage. The requirements that we often get from the clients and that we have from this particular software publisher, and all of the records need to be validated, parsed, transformed, and enriched, and loaded into the tool into a common format so that the tool can render properly. Scalability is absolutely a key, because as the tool continues to get used throughout different departments, the amount of data brought into the tool continues to expand, or the number of data sources grows. And it's very important that we can adapt to many data sets. We have legacy systems sending us just raw reports, all the way through very sophisticated applications publishing information on the fly. So it's sometimes batch information, sometimes it's real-time information. The other thing is this has to be high availability. Financial information is required every day, all day, and many of the principals of these companies want real-time information. So if we don't have a high availability system, they may not get the reports and their data quick enough. We also want workflows, and we want testing so that if some data source goes away or for some reason a data set changes, we want to be able to notify the client immediately so that that can be addressed. We also want workflows that can validate to make sure the data is brought in according to the formats we've set. And our customer needed a global solution provider. OSSCube is a global solution provider that we can work anywhere around the globe, and we can help any one of their clients no matter where they're located and no matter where the data sources are. So we have been successful in meeting all of the requirements and helping them to get their system implemented. One of the challenges that we face with each client is every client is different. And I think, as you can imagine, if you've changed companies or even within departments, everything is different. And we had to find a universal connector, if you would, to be able to deal with any sort of ecosystem that we ran into. This graphic kind of gives you an illustration of what we run into in terms of how do we take many different ecosystems and consolidate them into a standard data set with one tool. And Talend really turned out to be that universal adapter that we've been able to use in many projects. We selected Talend because as a global solution provider, we work with many different partners in the open source area, and Talend is really the best tool that we found as we looked throughout the market, because it met every single one of the requirements that we talked about a few minutes ago, and it really provided extensibility. What you'll hear in a few minutes from Rich from Talend is some of the other features and functions beyond ETL that Talend provides, and it was important to many of these clients to be able to find other functions like master data management, data quality, and things like that. And so you'll find in a few minutes is how extensible Talend actually is. We set up a virtual server to fulfill the horizontal scalability. This a lot of elasticity. So as data sets increased or decreased, the number of servers went up and down. So this virtual environment allowed us to really be responsive, but yet not have infrastructure costs for peak when we're not using at peak sources. We also use clustering for high availability so that if any one of the nodes goes down, it can fail over and go to the next node. We use sometimes AWS or hosting in multiple zones to ensure the high availability. Talend works very, very well in either of these virtual or clustering environments, so it was ideal for this configuration and for these high availability and scalable environments. After many, many different projects that we've done around the world, we have successfully installed Talend as the ETL tool for many, many clients. I don't have the exact number, but it's a dozen or more, and every client's ecosystem has been unique. The good news for the software publishers, they don't have to maintain a Talend competency. This is not something they use every day. It only is required when they have a new client or for occasional support. OSSCube has been able to provide the resources they need on a demand basis to be able to install the new clients and then provide any support requirements. So for the software publisher, they're able to focus on their core competency and not have to create something or carry overhead for a competency they don't need every day. And the software publisher is not limited by the data or integration constraints, so they can sell to anybody. As they go around the world selling to financial institutions, they don't worry about being able to plug their tool into their ecosystem. They assume that we're going to be able to make it work with Talend, and they move forward with that. As a result, they've been able to grow their business very rapidly and we've been able to help them to adapt to all of these different ecosystems. This is a notional architecture of what a generic client would look like. The Service Bureau would be providing data from external sources. That's just an example. And then we've got examples of many different applications that run within a financial institution. And Talend is really the glue that brings it all together so that it can feed into the visualization application. So I hope this gives you kind of a visual picture of what we were describing and shows how the notional architecture would go together. We'd certainly love to discuss any sort of integration needs that you have, if it's not even into a visualization application, but bringing data from any siloed application into any single tool or any single database. A lot of the benefits around consolidating data are really giving you one version of the truth. I know in my career I've had many times where there's been disparate databases and reports don't match, and you have a lot of loss of productivity or potential loss of competitive advantage because you don't have consistent data across your environment. Being able to share knowledge amongst departments really helps departments work closer together, break down those silos, and help you to work as one company to maximize your productivity and to really extract that actionable knowledge from the data. Everybody invests very heavily these days in collecting data, and if you don't bring it all together and maximize that value, you'll not be able to get the ROI from those investments. So at this point, I'd like to introduce Rich Searle from Talend and let him talk more about the details of how Talend actually makes all of this happen. So Rich, glad to have you join us today.
Thanks for that introduction, John. So my name is Rich Searle. I'm the Senior Manager of Alliances and Channels at Talend. And I'm going to start today with just a short overview of the history of the company and how we've come to where we are today. So we've been around for about 10 years. Talend was co-founded originally in Paris and then has moved to become a global company. And we've been selling Talend globally in every region of the world. One of the success factors for Talend has been that we started off as an open source software company, and that gave us a tremendous amount of exposure as open source has garnered a lot of interest in the IT community, and we have offered, since our inception, the Talend Open Studio version of our software, which is freeware, and Talend has had over 1.6 million product downloads. So due to that and due to the freeware of Talend, we've created a very strong brand awareness for Talend, a lot of interest in our capabilities. And so, of course, we've obviously commercialized our software. And with the commercialization of our software, we're giving our customers enterprise-class software solutions that include things like a shared metadata repository that enable our customers to provide a very high-performance solution and a very scalable solution across their enterprise. So we built up a vibrant community of customers. We've got over 100,000 registered users of Talend, and Talend is licensed as a subscription license model. And then, of course, we offer services and training. And one of the things I'd like to highlight is that Talend really fosters a partnering model in which partners like OSSCube, bring in all of those extra value wrappers around our solutions. So program management and project delivery, installation of Talend in the client's environment, and then training on Talend for the client. So all of those added value services and training services are an important part of the overall solution delivery by Talend. And then just down on the bottom right, I'll draw the attention to the fact that the company has been growing steadily over that 10-year period, and since 2007, we've been basically doubling our growth year over year. So the company has been extremely successful, has a very large global adoption of our solutions, and continue to be poised for success in the future. So what's being represented on this slide is that there is an amazing array of software solutions and architectures and environments in any client, ranging from, and if you kind of look at that rainbow band over on the left-hand side, you'll see a number of sources and databases that have been around for years: IBM and Teradata, Vertica, Oracle, SAP, and then over the last 15 years or so, we've had the emergence of cloud solutions, the most well-recognized of those being Salesforce, but also Marketo and many others, Amazon Redshift. And then, over on the far right-hand side, you see the emergence of what are becoming very popular big data environments today, such as the commercial Hadoop distributions, which include Cloudera and Hortonworks, MapR, Pivotal, and others. And then, there are always going to be emerging new data sources. So clients are facing the challenge, as John spoke to, of integrating data from many, many disparate data source environments. And part of that challenge is that, John spoke to scalability. There's also the need for skill sets for managing the data environment, for integrating data across that environment. There's the fact that most of the data exists in silos, and customers want a 360-degree view on their data. So they've ended up with an accidental architecture, and they've got a lot of data residing in different places, but they're really trying to, in order to be competitive, they're trying to get the best visibility into their data so they can make actionable real-time decisions. And then accompanying that, they have the issues of data quality and data governance requirements that go with the data-driven landscape. So some of the things that we see clients working with is they want to enhance the customer experience. For example, retail or CPG customers who have their customers interacting with their website and navigating through through their web pages, and they want to enhance that experience so that customers are naturally driven towards their products, that it's a positive experience and it's an efficient experience to get to their products and purchase their products. Other companies are looking at things like improving process efficiencies or optimizing their data environment so that they can get the best analytics and reporting out of their data. Some subset of customers are also looking at big data scenarios. So, for example, companies want to do analysis of clickstream data in which they're looking at things like, how are users browsing through their web pages and what sequence of activities leads them to their product or service offerings and ultimately to purchase. Other companies are, that are looking at things like sentiment analysis. So social media platforms have become very popular over the last 10 years, including Twitter, and companies want to do things like looking at positive or negative trending around how people are talking about their products on Twitter, and they do that by doing hashtag analysis of or sentiment analysis. And so we see a lot of different use cases, and Talend is uniquely set up to deliver on all of these use cases I've described. And we're going to now move to the next slide and just talk about the Talend Platform and some of the different solution offerings we provide. So what's been painted on the screen now is just really the Talend family of solutions. The key one that's associated with the use case that John described here for today's webinar is our Talend data integration offering, which includes all of the traditional expected aspects of data integration, including being able to connect to any source, just as you see in the picture behind it, connect to any of those sources to do things to your data, ranging from aggregations or transformations, filtering, enriching your data, and then ultimately loading that into a target and being able to do analytics and reporting off of your data, as well as data migrations, moving very large data sets from an existing legacy environment into a different environment. The Talend data integration platform enables all of those capabilities, and oftentimes customers are also looking to do data quality or data profiling along with those data integration requirements. So that's the third or yellow box you see there. So there, customers want to do data matching or data profiling and ultimately end up with a higher quality of data. So that's also one of the solutions that Talend offers as part of our unified platform. I'll speak to the other three on here. So over on the far left, you see Talend Big Data, and the Talend Big Data platform enables customers who are starting down that journey of a big data strategy, which often involves many customers have adopted one of the commercial Hadoop distributions, such as Hortonworks or Cloudera or MapR or others. Talend partners with all of the commercial Hadoop distros, and we offer a native integration with all of those commercial Hadoop distros. So we run natively in Cloudera, for example, and we enable a client who has a Cloudera or a Horton or MapR environment to do data integration against very, very large data volumes and meet the needs of their current and future big data analytics requirements. And we'll talk about that a bit more further on in this webinar. And then over on the right-hand side, I just want to address the two other solution families you see there. Master data management, which is the fourth box, is an area of increasing interest, and many clients are planning or currently investing in a master data management strategy. And I like to speak of it as a strategy because MDM is much more than a software solution. It's a governance framework, and it's a real investment in it, and it always involves or should always involve a consulting partner like OSSCube who can come in and bring in the MDM expertise and the background and lessons learned from many years of doing MDM consulting to advise the client on putting together that governance framework, putting together the MDM strategy and rules that are going to govern how they are going to have an MDM environment. And then the Talend solution fits in by enabling that client to apply those rules and ultimately result in mastering the different domains. And oftentimes a customer wants to focus initially on one domain, such as the customer domain. They have far too many duplicate customer records, and they want to basically get their controls around that, because if you have 25 different records for one of your big customers, you're not able to efficiently perform analytics and reporting on what that customer has purchased historically and what their interests are and how they're changing. So master data management really does result in better efficiencies in terms of understanding, in that particular case, the customer domain, and how to continue to adapt your offerings to your customers. And finally, over on the far right-hand side, we see the box ESB, which is our Talend Enterprise Service Bus. And this solution offering addresses the needs for application integration. So, those of you who are familiar with let's say, more traditional legacy offerings like TIBCO or others, that is the equivalent of what Talend offers there in terms of having a solution for application integration. But today, the key focus is really around data integration and data quality, because as John set up the use case and what you heard earlier, the client had a large number of disparate data sources. They had requirements for validation, parsing, transformation, enrichment, and loading, and they had a lot of scalability requirements. And the Talend Enterprise Data Integration Platform enabled that client to meet all of those needs and to connect with 100% of their data sources, and then to apply all of those different transformations to the data to get it into the form they ultimately wanted for analytics and reporting and dashboards. So in summary, just to highlight some of the value proposition for data-driven organizations, Talend enables a client to have a single unified platform. I should highlight the fact that Talend has been, all of Talend's solutions have been developed organically within Talend. None of our solutions come through acquisition. So as we've built out our product offerings, all of our products operate on a unified platform, which means things like data quality and master data management are integrated on a unified platform, and we allow data stewards to share rules across these solution families, as an example. So there are many, many benefits of having a unified platform, as well as a modular architecture. So our clients have oftentimes started with a single solution, such as the Talend Platform for data integration, and then they've added on over time. They've added in data quality, and then they've added on the Talend Master Data Management Platform. But again, from the start, Talend has always been an open-sourced software company, and so one of the big advantages to customers of Talend is that you're taking advantage of the fact that you have an enormous worldwide community of developers who've been, putting out this open source code, and we, so we benefit from having that kind of a global community and the very best code in our software, and also having partners who continue to support and advise on our product roadmap and continue to drive enhancements in our solution. And then finally, Talend has native big data integration, as I've talked about. So we support all of the commercial Hadoop distributions, and we enable these big data use cases. I talked about clickstream analysis and sentiment analysis, and there's a lot of different emerging use cases. But companies who have very large data volumes, and that includes data volumes from social media, and they want to integrate unstructured data with structured data, and they have data residing in a lot of the traditional platforms like SAP or Oracle or other Teradata, other databases, but the volumes have grown so large with the integration of social media data, and even other forms of unstructured data that they're moving to a big data environment so that they can really manage their data and get the kind of analytics and reporting that they require. So I'm just going to finish with a couple of slides here. One is just to reflect that in Talend's tenure history, we have succeeded in with some very noteworthy and marquee customers in all of the major industry verticals, and you're just seeing a representation of that today. But Talend has been very successful in the finance and insurance industry. You can see a lot of very well-known brands there on the slide. We've been very successful in manufacturing and retail, in public sector, in energy, oil and gas, CPG companies. So this just to represent that Talend is not a vertically specific solution. It's a solution that has been proven to work very effectively in all of the industry verticals, and through partners like OSSCube, they've been able to bring and advise Talend to their clients and bring and deliver a successful Talend delivery for those clients. And so finally, these customers are saying great things about Talend. They're realizing the benefits of an open source based software solution that is very mature, that has the scalability that they require, that has a shared metadata repository, and delivers the return on investment that they're looking for.
All right, thank you very much, Rich. That was some great information there. So kind of wrapping things up here, it looks like with Talend's extensive tool set and their unified platform, along with OSSCube's kind of abilities to implement these solutions, we have quite a truly winning combination here. With that, I'm going to open up the audience for questions. So please ask us, what can we do for you? Okay, we have one question here for you, Rich. We get daily reports from a service bureau. It's difficult to import this data, and there's no API or external access to the service bureau. Can Talend help us get this data into our internal systems?
It certainly can, and I actually invite my colleague Ed Ost if you want to share your perspectives on integrating data from a service bureau.
Absolutely. In general, whether you're pulling from a traditional database, or if maybe you're just getting a flat file extract, or in a good environment, maybe you're pulling a SOAP or a REST service, you're going to be able to access all the data from your business partners, and you're going to be able to do it in a way which encapsulates the data source. So if maybe today we are using flat files and tomorrow you are upgrading to maybe a more secure REST or SOAP API, it's not going to ripple the impact of that change across the rest of your integration logic. And so all of those connectors are pluggable, and they are all driven by metadata. And so even if you have a flat file, you want it to be strongly typed, you want to understand the data format, the data semantics, and that metadata can also be managed inside of Talend.
Great, thank you very much. So another question's come up. We have several disparate databases and have been having issues sharing or consolidating records. Can Talend help us to consolidate and standardize our data?
It certainly can. I'll introduce this and Ed invite you to follow, but that's a very core feature and functionality of our Talend data integration platform is the integration of data from disparate sources. Talend has over 800 API connectors, and we have connectivity across the enterprise. And one of the things we've mastered is taking data from these heterogeneous source environments and bringing them in to the Talend repository, in which we can then consolidate that data in the form that the client is looking for, and apply, data profiling, data quality, apply transformations such as filters or aggregations to the data, and get that data into the format that makes it optimal for reporting and analytics. And I'll invite Ed to add anything on there.
Sure thing, Rich. I think this is certainly a very typical use case for using Talend. And when we think about integrating the disparate sources of data into actionable information, the first thing we really want to do is profile the data and ensure we have good data quality. And then we have to standardize the representation so that simple things, but important things like phone numbers, addresses, etc., are systematically represented so that if we are doing any kind of matching on the key dimensions of what may be a data warehouse, which in turn is driving the data mart, well, if those reference dimensions are not consistent, then you're not going to get valid analytics, and you're not going to be making good business decisions. And the function of the master data management piece is to rationalize the workflow around those core reference dimensions, whether it's reference data or a first-class domain entity like your customer. And once you've done that, you can get a 360 view of your customer, which integrates a variety of different data sources. And because you can do it with greater agility, you can take advantage of new cloud data sources and new reference data to enrich your data stream and your information flow to give you enhanced analytics that take advantage and exploit more data, leverage more information, so you can drive your data-driven enterprise.
Great, thank you very much. I think we have time for one more quick question that we could squeeze in here. What role can Talend play in the world of big data and predictive analytics?
And Ed, you're welcome to take that one on if you'd like.
Sure. So when we think of big data analytics, I think the first wave that we've seen are traditional web metadata, metadata around, say, user interactions with websites like Rich talked about. But there's a whole second wave of big data coming with machine-generated data, the Internet of Things. Taking advantage of that extended data set of traditional enterprise data sources plus the Internet of Things, loading all of those different types of systems into the data lake, which may be driven with Hadoop, using MapReduce in a massively parallel data platform to transform and do all of the traditional ETL tasks, but doing it at scale with massive amounts of data is something Talend supports natively because we run directly in Hadoop. We support all the Hadoop APIs, whether it's Hive or Pig, for all of the vendors, Hortonworks, Cloudera, MapR. But we also run directly in the cluster, so we're very efficient. There's no extra inter-process communication overhead. There's no extra management infrastructure. There's no extra skill set for your operations team. And it's visual, so your data analysts don't have to learn a new skill set. They can be productive from day one. And what that means is they can merge these emerging data assets like the Internet of Things, like the extended information supply chain, pull everything into the data lake, process it at scale, and get it out to your data visualization tool of choice or your analytics engine of choice, whether that's on Vertica or another product. We integrate with every data source in the data processing chain.
And there we have it. So it looks like we've kind of run out of time here. I'd like to thank all of our speakers here today. I think they've given us quite a lot to think about. For the audience, if you have any more questions, feel free to contact us through email or phone, and we'll be following up with you. Thank you again for joining us. We'll see you next time.